Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown. It's great to have you with us at the start of another week. We've got a lot to get to tonight, and of course, we want to jump right into our stories tonight. Well, first, earlier this year, the Bahamas found itself, along with some of our regional counterparts, having to defend its labor practices as the United States claimed that the Cuban Medical Mission Program, which extends here, has been used to cover up various labor violations. Since then, the program has been under heavy review, with the Bahamas promising to get to the bottom of what's going on. And in the House of Assembly today, the health minister used a portion of his contribution to the budget debate to provide an update. Corville Pfeiffer reports tonight.
I'm pleased to announce on June the 18th, 2 days from now, our lead consultants at the Princess Margaret Hospital, along with 3 distinguished transplant surgeons from Trinidad and Barbados, in the country for the 23rd Annual Caribbean College of Surgeons Conference, will perform a live donor kidney transplant on a Bahamian patient at the Princess Margaret Hospital. This will be a part of the official launch of my ministry's long-awaited kidney transplant program.
All right, that story there obviously wasn't the story we're talking about, but that is an important story we're going to get to with, of course, a number of growing patients facing end-stage renal disease, which the minister says is now a growing public health concern. This week, the country is poised to make history, and he's talking there about doing that first transplant surgery that will take place in the country, and that's going to be historic by its very nature. As to Dr. Darville talking about this new initiative with screening of healthcare providers from Cuba, we have that story with Corville Pfeiffer. Let's go to that. Okay, we don't have that story, but let me sum it up to you as to what is taking place. Obviously, the government is serious about being able to address it. And what they're hoping to do is to be able to find a way to ensure that with healthcare, they're able to get the expertise from Cuba, but also to follow the protocols to ensure that there's no issue of concern between the Bahamas and Cuba. And that's what they've been discussing over the past few months. Dr. Darville and his team believe they have a plan to be able to continue to be able to get that kind of assistance, but do it in a more transparent way that does not avoid or break any of the protocols. You hear us talk more about that this week. I want to move to some issues and some stories now that many of you have been talking about, particularly over the weekend. Well, 3 men shot dead in broad daylight, one of them a police reserve officer. The streets of New Providence, obviously, once again, producing grief and fear. But tonight, West Calix Forbes tells us how the Royal Bahamas Police Force is taking a more visible approach to public safety for those in the Cordero Avenue area. Here's Wes's story.
Hours after the life of another father was snuffed out here in the capital, senior police officers, about 15 strong, hit the ground this morning, assuring residents of Cordero Avenue of their presence.
We had to come in this area to really hear the concerns from the general public. They are pleased to see the police. They want to see more policing. They want to see more patrol. And I can tell you, with that said, we will have a number of patrols in these areas starting from now.
That now comes fresh on the heel of another father losing his life to gunfire, and on Father's Day. According to police, a group of people were outside of a home on Cordero Avenue when a white Jeep pulled up. The occupants reportedly opened fire, wounding 3 people, 1 fatal. Earlier that same day, Police Reserve Inspector Lennox Williams was ambushed and shot while reportedly making a deposit. Superintendent Pratt echoed a sentiment shared by his commissioner on that particular scene.
You have to be more about of what you're doing when you're going to the bank. She's saying to the general public is that, listen, if you need your money to be transferred, just get on to a police control room, call the police and say, listen, we need some help removing our money.
You should also keep this in mind.
If you need to deposit a large sum of money, we want you to do it in a more densely populated area where people are moving. Do not wait for a Sunday when nobody's around and then you're taking a chance to go to the bank to deposit money. Listen, the crooks work just like the police. and the crooks understand how we work.
Meanwhile, police are reminding anyone with information on either of the recent slaying to come forward. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Wes Calix Forbes.
And so I know many people will sit back and say, oh, here we go again. Police are in the community again after these. But the presence of police, particularly after tragedies like this, is very important. It's more than just a cliche move to say to say we're in the community, but it's also to talk to the people who have been shaken up in that community and to be able to bring some level of support and calm to people who might be wondering what's going on in these communities. At the end of the day, police are working extremely hard, as police force tell you, to try and solve these crimes, but they have to also bring a sense of law and order to these communities, particularly after they've been rocked and shaken up by these kinds of terror. And so it's important for them to be seen in these communities after these incidences, to at least be able to talk to people to hear their frustration, hear their grievances, hear their concerns, and to be able to provide some level of support and address them. Well, as you just heard, among the 3 men shot and killed yesterday was Father and Reserve Police Inspector Lennox Williams, whose family grappled with the grim task this morning of identifying his lifeless body in the morgue. Daniel Dean tonight spent a few moments with the relatives, and she files this report.
Roughly 24 hours ago, a cold-blooded broad daylight shooting in this very plaza. Now the distraught family of former police reservist Lennox Williams struggle to pick up the pieces.
He tried to be there for everyone, and no matter what he was going through, he never really asked anybody for help. He would just go and volunteer help.
Inspector Lennox Williams' first cousin, Dixie Jones, says her cousin was the kind to give his last to those around him without second thought, especially his kids.
Oh, great father. I went to church yesterday and they were talking somewhat about absentee fathers. That was so opposite to him. He was just the epitome of a father. His son died, as everybody knows now, on the son's birthday a few years back, and he was actually still grieving that. Then we lost our aunt who lived right here. She died at 102, and now him.
Williams served as a beloved president of St. Mary the Virgin Anglican Church Men's Group. His lifelong friend and fellow Anglican Church Men's Group member, Anthony Foster, now reflecting on his impact.
To leave church and then minutes later be told of that tragedy, it just struck a raw nerve.
Vice President of the group, Lorenzo Roll, described the president this way.
He's well known, well respected, well loved, and it would be difficult.
Williams' mom, according to the family, had just caught a flight from Turks and Caicos yesterday, and upon returning to the house she and her son lived in, got the worst news of her life. Offering condolences today was area MP, the Honourable Alfred Sayers, who says he knows the victim's mom, Mary Stovall, very well.
He was a faithful son, and I saw how he took care, supported his mom, also his aunt who lived to be over 100, and this is a solid family.
His mother visibly upset, and other family members hoping the perpetrators that flipped their worlds upside down are brought to justice. Reporting for the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Danielle Dean.
Thank you, Danielle. It's unfortunate, and I think it brings us to where I want to carry this discussion tonight. It's sad that men who are upstanding and good in community and contributing to community, volunteering their services, no doubt, in the church. They probably wanted him to be able to do these deliveries because of his law enforcement background and being able to take the deposit safely for the church. Somebody who was armed and obviously should have a little more protection, and then this happens, right? And you wonder, well, can you not go to the ATM? Can you not go to the night deposit and not fear repercussions of this nature in broad daylight, right? And it makes you wonder what happens in our country. It makes you wonder, what are we doing in our country when we don't understand the seriousness of violence that perpetuates our streets? And this social ill is one that has to be addressed by individuals, right? No matter how many programs you put in place, how many community projects you put in place, how many systems you put in place, people have to make individual decisions to want to do right and to want to make right decisions. And when people choose not to make right decisions, we have to look back as to what is happening to the individual that lives in our country and why they're choosing wrong over right. Why are they choosing to go left instead of right? Why are they choosing to do sad things and bad things rather than good things? And that brings us back to individual decisions, deciding that I'm going to be an upstanding member of society. I'm going to do what is right versus doing what is wrong. There's an absence of good consciousness, it seems, among young men in our country today. We're going to talk a lot more about that tonight, because that's going to be the center of our discussion tonight. We need to talk more about how we got here, how we're going to get out of here, and what we all need to play in society as a part of our roles in addressing it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, again, another late-breaking story, another shooting. We're going to take you live to that scene. When we come back, my guests are here. We're going to talk about this tonight. We're not going to sweep it under the carpet. We're not going to kick the can down the road. We're going to address it head on tonight, because we need intervention. We need it fast. You're watching The Rundown on the ZNS Network. We're back, and we begin our discussion after the break.
The Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training's National Report Card Day is Thursday, June 19th, 2025, between the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All parents are urged to collect their children's report card during this time.
After 30 years of banking, I've decided to take a leap of faith. I moved from banking into an untapped industry, which is manufacturing in the Bahamas. And now we are standing on 3 acres of land on which we're going to be putting the Bahamas' first end-to-end plastic recycling company, Eden Recycling and Manufacturing Company Limited. Eden has 2 arms, recycling and manufacturing.
This is groundbreaking for us. It's never been done before. It really makes a difference, not only in the Bahamas, but even around the world. This is not just a project that we're doing so that we can make a couple of dollars. We want to make sure that it benefits those who come after us. In future generations, we hope that this is a small vision, that they will take it and they'll expand on it. We can have the formula for what it means to do end-to-end recycling in the Bahamas, in the region, and even if we have to export these ideas and thoughts and concepts even into the U.S.
Hey, what's up, Mario?
Hey, Dale, what's going on?
Have you seen ZNS new digital platforms?
No. Let me go check it out.
Good day, Bahamas. I'm Devontae Hanna, and this is ZNS Digital,
where we cater to your news and entertainment needs. Are you a foodie? I thought so. Then look out for Digital Bites.
Shining a light on Bahamians and the good that they do, ZNS Digital is home to the sunshine one.
Keeping up with the latest trends, our original content will keep you entertained.
Yeah, that's cool.
But have you seen the new website?
No, I didn't see it. Let me go look.
We're still your most trusted source for news and information.
That's ZNS Digital?
Yeah, that's ZNS Digital, the people station in your pocket.
Good evening and welcome back to The Rundown. A special thank you to all of you joining us on your various platforms around the region, around the Turks and Caicos Islands, around the world, here at home. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have breaking news to go to tonight as yet another shooting taking place in the Key West Street area, not far from yesterday's triple shooting. Our Corbel Pyfrom is live on the scene tonight with the latest information. Corbel, what can you tell us about this latest shooting?
Good evening to you, Clint, and not very far indeed from yesterday's incident. We're talking about 800 meters to the north of here is where yesterday's incident happened that resulted in the death of one person and 2 other people being wounded. What we understand happened here this evening is this. Police tell us that it was just after 6 this evening that a group was gathered in the home that you see just across my left shoulder here along Key West Street. That's when the occupants of a small Japanese vehicle pulled up on them exited the vehicle and then opened fire. We are told that several shots were fired. One person was shot. He was shot once during that round of shooting. Now, as for the person injured, we are told that he did suffer some serious injuries and was taken to hospital. When we got here on the scene, we saw police here doing their investigations. We also found a crowd of onlookers out on the street, and you'd imagine the tensions in this area are high given what happened here just yesterday. Now, police unable to tell us whether these situations are all related, but like I said, these matters are under active investigation. Clint?
Let me ask you, Corvell, because I can imagine how people are feeling right about now who live in these inner city communities. Is there any sign of expression from residents there that, listen, this is getting out of hand, we're concerned, we're in fear? What are you getting from people around?
You know, that's an interesting question, because I'll tell you, while folks weren't willing to appear on camera with us tonight, everybody that came up to us had basically the same reaction. Not again. This is becoming ridiculous. Something's got to be done.
All right, Corvell Party, thank you. You're going to spin this story for us tonight. Thank you for reporting tonight. Well, on the heels of this latest shooting brings us to our discussion tonight. On Sunday, we celebrated Father's Day. It's a time when the microscope is on the male and the role he plays in society. But has society been fair, or is it the lack of responsibility why men find themselves in this predicament? Tonight, we have a deep discussion on the Bahamian male. Where have we gone wrong, and how do we fix the issue? We're always talking about the problems. How about the solutions tonight? That's what I want to focus on. Joining me tonight to discuss this is the former Assistant Commissioner of Police, now co-chair of Urban Renewal Commission, Stephen Dean, an author, pastor, expert in dealing with young men, young people. Pastor, we all know him. He's a pastor of Bahamas Faith Ministries International, Dr. Dave Burrows. Gentlemen, I'm honored to have both of you here tonight. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
And happy belated Father's Day to both of you.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's jump right into this, because I think at this point people just seem to be almost numb as to what is going on, right? And I think sometimes we're very reactionary as a country. When something serious happens, we all get angry, we all get passionate about it. 7 days later, as if nothing ever happened, and people are comfortable again. Right. How do we move people from this place of okay, listen, something else happened, to the place of no matter what, even in the good times, I'm not going to stop advocating that something must be done? Do you believe as a society we've accepted this, is where I want to start?
Well, I think we have accepted it to a certain extent, but really what needs to happen is not just being concerned, deciding what you will do. So there are a lot of people who are complaining, but there are not a lot of people who are actually working. In order for us to change the situation with young men, they will be what they see. And so if the only thing they see is violence, that's what they're going to be. So there has to be some persons in place who will show them something different. And that's critical.
You always talk about your story and the fact that you've had a stint in your life where you weren't the great roughneck pastor they called you back then, but you were actually a part of the problem.
Right.
What caused you to feel that being a part of the problem was okay, and that was, hey, that's my life?
Well, we have to understand that what's happening on the streets right now is business. So, you know, sometimes we look at the young men and we say, why don't they get along? Well, let's teach them conflict resolution. This isn't about that. It's about business. It's about survival. You know, you will find that most young men on the streets have a nickname, and that nickname means something. And when they step out of the door, they may be junior at home. But on the streets, if they Scarface, they got to be Scarface.
Wow.
And Scarface is a means of survival. You know, a lot of the killings now are business related. When I say business related, I'm talking about street business. You know, it's territory, it's money, it's drugs or whatever it is. And once young men get in the game, it's almost too late. You know, so we really have to concentrate on reaching young men before they get caught up. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have to address it, you know, down the line as well, but it's always better to reach them before they get to that stage. And so we have to have a multi-layered approach So you try to reach them before, and then the ones who are in problems, you try to steer them into programs or into situations where they can hear something different. You know, I have a friend who has a program. He's a businessman. He runs a program. And so guys who are coming out of prison, they go into that program, and many of those guys in that program, because I've assisted him with it, they said this is the first time they heard certain information.
Wow.
So we have to put them in position. We are asking them to have manners.
Right, to reform.
But they never had any instructions on manners. We're telling them, okay, you need to be a man. This is what a man is. But they have never heard it. They've never seen it. Because if you're in a home with no father, when you go to school, 99% of the teachers are female.
Yeah.
You haven't seen a positive male. So we have to put them in position. And one of the things that I've done recently, because I thought about it a lot, and I thought about how can we look at the solution side of it. And I came up with a program called the School of Manhood. So we're teaching young men from 10 years old what it is to be a man, because they probably haven't had a father that taught them. They haven't seen the examples, so they don't know what it is to be a man. So somebody has to tell them.
Stephen Dean, you spent perhaps most of your life as a police officer trying to deal and address these people. You've worked in renewal, you've worked with these people. What say you based on what you've seen?
Clint, thank you. What I equated to is the terminology and criminologists talked about the conveyor belt of crime. All of these young men are moving on this belt. The belt has a starting point where you talk about broken homes, dysfunctional families, poverty, economic situations, feeling abused, being abused. The belt starts moving slowly. It is going along. The belt has one or two destinations: death, prison, or whatever. It's not that the end is not good of this. What happened, as you know, when we go to the airport, we say our luggage. That's not my luggage.
Right.
Let me pick this one off. So that's what's happening. We're being very selective on who we help on this belt.
Wow.
So we see a lot of young men moving on this belt because most time, Clint, when someone is arrested, someone said, you know, I noticed what's going to happen, you know. From high school, was a troublemaker. I saw the pattern. But we have these people on this conveyor belt. Wow. Nobody is, in some cases, you're not moving. We're being selective on who we're taking off the belt. If we take that man or young man off early, he wouldn't get to the armed robbery. He wouldn't get to the gang. And we know these things. These things are the obvious.
So why are we allowing them to go straight past us?
Because we have reached that point, you know, one time ago, and I look at the Anglo-Saxon time when a crime was committed. It was a responsibility of the male population to deal with crimes in the area. So when a crime was committed, even with a outbreak and a robbery, the whole community was alarmed. That all has been reversed now. Wow. Nobody's concerned no more. To some degree, you have a few people, advocates, pushing, but everybody's saying, my corner, I don't even know my neighbor today, and I'm not interested in knowing no neighbor. I'm not into that kind of thing. So we have got to this point, Clint, that we just see young men, you know, even some of our churches.
Yeah.
When church ought to be gone.
The fellowship in
Oh, no, we're not going in no community, so to speak, along that line. Because church windows used to be open. The doors used to be wide open. Now it's air conditioned. Now it's locked up. You get security in the yard.
Matter of fact, a lot of church programs, if people just come in and watch, everything now online, everything now in Zoom room, so nobody can, if you ain't in the Zoom, you ain't getting nothing, church closed.
Everything is online, and I think times have been moving up with us, you know, because we don't have to do nothing, we don't have to be associated with nothing. I could watch television, I could watch what I want, I don't have to be nobody's friend. The young people, they don't really need friends. They'll be locked down in their PlayStations all day. They don't need no friends.
How much of an infiltration of social media and, well, media in general? Because now you can watch movies online on your phone, you could watch downloads and some of the stuff that people putting out there on social media, wondering, like, oh my God, are the children being introduced to this already? How much of this is impacting what's being put into our behemoths?
Well, I think we have to realize that we are living in a worldwide toxic culture.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially emanating from the U.S. So you have a culture now. Let's take music, for example. So there's a genre in the U.S. called drill rap.
Drill rap?
Yeah. So in drill rap, you kill somebody, you stream it online, you go and urinate on their grave, and you sing about it. Lil Durk was a drill rapper. They have, you know, many of the popular rappers. Let me give you another example. You have a guy like NBA Youngboy. He said on television, he said on YouTube, you're not a real man until you kill somebody. So you have this toxic culture where your reputation now is built upon body count. So you know, you are somebody based upon how many people you kill. And that's a part of the culture that's out there. That's a part of the gang culture. And then it's spread around the Caribbean because you have something in Trinidad now called Trinidad music.
Trinidad?
Yeah. And they call them bad boys, and they kill one another, and they sing about it in the music. So that's the culture that we're living in, and we have to really try to change the culture. But a lot of people are not even aware of it. Because when I talk about it, you know, most people have never heard about it. We have these guys coming in, we have artists coming in all the time who are promoting this stuff, and the country sometimes is not even aware of it, you know.
And Clint, you know, the reality, it exists, because the guy sees a lifestyle on social media. You see flashy cars, you see a fella living a life, he ain't working, you don't know how you get it, because this insatiable taste for this money and to have it.
We like to show people we're successful quick.
We can get it.
We ain't gonna pay the price.
And you know, our standards are high in the Bahamas.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Immaterial to you say poverty exists, but watch around Valentine's. You can look through any community, everybody dressed up in the best, everybody top notch, and that's pressure. That puts pressure on parents. And I've seen houses where 3 cars in the yard, no electricity, no running water. Wow. The standards and the pressure we have, because we see on television, we see a standard, we see a lifestyle, and that's a quick lifestyle people want. And because, too, we have seen so many persons appear to be successful in that underground world, in a life of crime. Crime is just a big business. It's a big business. You will get into it today because it seems that everybody's influenced by it, and the money is out there, fueled by drugs. I just need to make one deal, and I'm living good. And society tends to glorify these persons. Because we look, say, the guy has a nice bike, man, I love that. Everything.
You're part of the commission for prison reform. Or prison.
I've done some work at the prison.
Right. And I want to ask, have we removed the fear out of the consequences that come with being caught in crime, that people feel it's okay to me to walk around in daylight and shoot a gun, because if I get catched, man, I can go up there, I can wait forever for my case, first of all. I can go up there, I can be right up there. Man, they're offering degrees up there now. You can walk out of prison in 4 years with a college degree. So hey, you know, I can reform myself, but it can be worth taking this person out. How we remove the fear out of consequences?
I don't think, I think that's still a problem, lagging problem, and it's growing. It's ballooning, that the fact that persons believe that nothing can happen.
Right.
The reality, most time these fellas on the streets committing crime, they already have a lawyer. Even before they commit a crime, they have a lawyer.
They have the person needs to go do whatever they get.
They have that set. It's like a system set. The guy tells you, okay, good, it's likely you could get bail in about 6 months. Good. Be prepared to do 6 months. Be prepared here. So it's a system already in place. They see the system work all the time in most cases. So I don't have no problem going up there spending 4 months. I can be out. I'm going to be out. But I must give credit to the new commissioner at the prison. One of the things he have started doing, that once you are sentenced in prison, you're not going to spend time in the cell. You got to do something. Whether you work in the yard, whether you go into a program, it's not going to be all day business in the cell. So that's one thing. I say that's a step in the direct, to some degree.
Yeah. I'm asking you, is it not punishment? Because listen, the conditions some of these men live in, prison is a hotel.
Prison is a joke. Prison is a joke.
No, I know prison. Let me clear. I've been up there. I did a whole documentary on it, so I know they ain't no hotel.
No, ain't no hotel. But compared to where some people come from.
See, the thing about it is, when you understand the streets, survival, you don't have a choice. Prison is not a choice. No. So if you don't go to prison, you go to the graveyard.
Yes. And people willing to do that, accept that.
Well, I mean, okay, if you have a choice as an individual where you're going to go to prison or go to the graveyard, which one would you choose?
True.
You can choose prison.
Yeah.
So they realize that prison is a part of the business. And sometimes you go to prison, and sometimes you don't. But we do need prison reform in the Bahamas, and especially with the facility. I don't know what the progress is, but you know, if you go to prisons in the U.S., I've been to several prisons in the U.S., and you go to prison in the Bahamas, the prison in the Bahamas is inhumane.
It is.
You know?
I've seen it.
And if people are going to be housed there, we should house them in a position where they could be productive. It doesn't mean luxury. It means basic human dignity. And I think that's important.
Let's take a break. We can come up and continue our discussion with Dr. Dave Burrows and, of course, Stephen Dean. We're going to get to some solutions on how we're going to fix this problem in our country. The rundown, we're back after this.
Hey, ladies, where's the Dave? Oh, okay, thanks.
Greg, what's up?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing well. He's meditating. You gotta give him at least an hour.
All right, well, I can wait. I got nothing to do. Been pimping it, I say, now on to independence.
Come with us this June as ZNS Northern Service takes you on a journey to one of the most captivating islands in the Bahamas. And even the crystal waters of Ocean Key, we're showing you the best. Plus, an exclusive look at luxury and excitement at Resort World Bimini. Join us on June 23rd through the 27th for news and daily shows live right here from Resort World Bimini. Bimini awaits.
Welcome back to the Rundown. My guest is Dr. Dave Burrows and, of course, former Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean. We're trying to get some understanding. Also, you have some knowledge. I believe that we always talk and people are on social media expressing their frustration, but sometimes we need knowledge. We need information so that we understand what we're facing in our country and what it is that we need to see and advocate for so that we can see change in our country. And that's what we're all about tonight. You're talking to us about some of the things you've experienced and you've seen. We were talking about in the commercial break. I want to allow you to continue to talk.
Yeah, when we talk about the culture in the Bahamas, I remember I was doing an event with 13 to 16-year-olds. These are young people who were in trouble. And I was talking about how much
13, hold on, pause. 13 to 16-year-olds.
Right.
And you said young people who are in trouble.
Right.
Not young.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
younger than that.
So I'm talking to this group, right? And I'm talking to them about what's happening in the country and so on. And I say that, while people are doing hits for $1,000, a 13-year-old sitting right in the front of me said with me there, I'll do it for $300. A 13-year-old.
$300.
Yeah. There was another young fellow who was in juvenile, and the judge was talking with him, and he had 3 teardrops, right? And so the judge said to him, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, that's 3 people I killed." So she said, "Well, what about the one with a little hole in it?" She said, "I get him, but he didn't die." So that's the kind of environment that is out there. So, people caught up in the system, and once you're caught up in the system, it's a challenge, which is why when we're talking about solutions, you have to work on a multi-tiered situation. So law enforcement is essential.
Right.
Because without consequences, then people just do whatever they want to do.
Right.
But then you have to work on getting them before they get in trouble, and then after they get in trouble, giving them a way out. So you have to work at it on 3 levels. You know, one program that I talked about is, and there are many people who are doing programs. So one program that I talked about is what I'm doing now, called the School of Manhood. Then there was a program called the Second Chance Program, and you have a number of programs like that. We need more people involved and more people trained in order to access, to intervene, and to mentor.
And these programs are important to identify people who may seem as if they're heading in the wrong direction. Let's grab you out of the system and let's try and get you back on track.
Yes. And Clint, you know, and I go back to this, you know, just being my background in law enforcement, there's something we were taught. There's no perfect crime.
What do you mean by that?
It might be same and not solved. That means somebody knows about the crime. That's why you hear the police saying, if you have any information.
Yeah.
So we are appealing to people who sitting down, who have information, can solve a lot of crime, or know where guns or firearms are right now, who can point it to that, who could prevent possibly 2 more murders. But we've reached to that point, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to bother. And then a lot of people have surrendered to the criminals too, become fearful.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the challenge, because, you know, you as a regular citizen, if you go to the police, you in fear of what might happen to you.
Right.
And basically, the streets know what's happening. You know, there are guys who I used to work with years ago, and guys that I know. Everything that happens, every murder, they can tell me why and what it's about. And often the police know also, but they don't have the corroborating evidence to create a conviction.
Yes.
And this is a matter of survival in these communities. See, the reason why I keep going back to that is because so many Bahamians are not in these communities.
No, they
they sit void of these communities and wonder why. Why these people can't get along? Why do people kill each other? This is ridiculous, man. We got to do better. But they're not living in this community where if you snitch, so the little line, snitches get stitches. That's real.
It is real survival, because, you know, we had to work with people, you know, people up to the time I left were giving me information. You can't even tell nobody. You couldn't even tell your right hand, your left hand. But sometimes it's the same persons within these communities. You know, they want something to change, but they're in fear. You know, and they want to know they are trusted, that the information is trusted too. And I can tell you that so many systems are now put in place that you can get information. And I always tell persons, if you know a police officer who you know, that you think you can trust, there's some outstanding. And that happens. People give information, they give information. That's how crimes are solved. That's how crimes are solved. And parents, there are signs. And what I applaud some parents, some parents see indications of their children. And they bring them to the police and say, just have a little chat. I don't know. And that happens daily, because people don't see that side of the policing.
No, we don't hear about that.
You don't see that side of the policing. You don't see that because people will say, y'all are not locking for nobody.
Right.
You know, I still got the police blood in me. All right? But every day you go to court, someone is being charged. Every day. A new person. Almost every day, a new person is going to prison. New person is going to prison. And so the challenge now with policing is not the challenge what I had in the past.
Right.
It's a difficult time now. You're dealing with a different mindset. We grew up in Sunday school. We were fearful. Now you hear what you see with the young people, they start getting fearful afterwards. But before, you'll be thinking, say, I don't want to get in trouble, I don't want to go to Foxhill, I don't want to go to prison. It doesn't matter. When they reach in prison, then they say, oh, I'm here. Then the thinking starts. And then one psychologist, he reminded me, said, in prison, this is the first time the guy is told, you go to bed at around 9 o'clock in the night. The lights have to be off. And when you get up, we do a prayer thing here, you do prayer. You can read Bible, you know, you've never read your Bible before. Yeah, you can do this now. So you are introduced to a number of behavioral patterns.
That you never had to do before.
You never had it. There was no discipline around the place. And so we say all people are created equal. But imagine a child in a home where the father's in prison when they were born.
Yeah.
The mother is on drugs when they are born. These are live stories.
Wow.
Then we talk about the family needs to get together. Tell me which family meeting can be.
Right.
Where? The mother is 13.
Yeah.
Or to working two jobs.
Yeah, working
sure, they come home from school, it's up to them.
We have literally now children, young children have to walk their loved ones to school while the mothers them have to go to work early
in the morning.
And they have to do a number of things. And that's why that breakfast program, people look at it, but Clint, that's a powerful program.
I know a lot of people complain about it, and I said, y'all, see, that's because breakfast to y'all seems so minor. Breakfast is automatic for y'all.
Oh, my goodness.
But you don't understand, for so many people, they've been missing it.
Yes.
And it fills a serious void. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think I went through some research, and all the statistics that I've seen indicate that the #1 problem that contributes to crime is fatherlessness.
Oh, yeah.
Fatherlessness.
Yeah.
That's big.
They say, for example, in Georgia, according to one of the legal systems there, they said a child without a father is about 15 times more likely to commit a crime, end up in prison, commit suicide. Fatherlessness,
wow, and
the male and the absence of a father is a major problem. And in our world,
lies our problem.
In our world today, you know, sometimes we say, well, you know, you should obey your parents. But a lot of kids today don't have parents. They have a baby daddy or a baby mother.
Different from parents.
That's different from the parents.
That's a different story.
You know, it's almost like if a dog has puppies, they don't pay attention, they don't care, so they just bring them into the world.
They produce.
Right.
And sometimes that's what you have. You don't have parents, you have baby daddies, baby mothers. So, and you also, there's also a need for constant parental training, because these kids who are having kids and these dysfunctional parents who are having children, they don't know how to be parents. And so we are angry with them, but they never been taught either.
Right.
So we have a nation of people who have not been schooled in what it is to be normal.
Let's face it, you know, and I think we don't think about it.
Yeah.
The way it was designed to be, obviously, parenting, was the mother, the father, you know, the husband and the wife came together, decided we want to build a family. We decide we want to have children because we want to love and nurture these children. And so we bring them up into a nice environment, and then we have the nuclear family, and it's all peaches and cream. But that ain't, if we think about it, that's not how a lot of our people are born in the Bahamas.
It's totally different.
They're born out of, okay, we had a little encounter. This going down. I was carrying on bad. I just show you that I'm on mine, Tarzan. And boom. Oh, you pregnant? Oh, Jesus. You saw that's mine? And then boom. We have a child that's created out of a scenario that's not the best case scenario, out of a scenario where the mother didn't want to get pregnant, the father said, man, look at man, that's my, if you say that's my child,
that might be his 17th child.
So to them, it's just another, all it is a result of me showing you I strong and I help you.
And so, Clint, that's why you see this role model that we can go, and I would use it in our community policing, in the policing background, and when you were there, that's why you could have had so many children acquiesce towards you. Because they needed some leadership.
Wow.
They needed the powerful.
I watched them.
The
we were on that trip with Urban Renewal with you back in those days. I watched how those children in that band came around you because you were their father.
That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. You have to fulfill the role, that role model. And it's so much, and they're looking for it, Clint. They're looking for it because you get the music program. These children, you get them into the band program, and they start playing an instrument. Had they had the opportunities, you know how much opportunity had been lost? And it's amazing that we have, you know, and I said that when you look at particularly these inner city communities, a lot of people in society who've done well came from these communities, and a lot have not looked back. A lot have not looked back to those communities. Because you hear historical things say, that's where this person used to live, this is where this person grew up.
Right.
But you can imagine if everybody come back, maybe put a little donation in that community. Maybe do something into the after-school program, as the case may be. Because when we run like summer camps and these programs, Clint, the parents can row us if we don't feed the children. Then the parents say they want breakfast too. So you have to have a program in place. You got to feed these children, and that's why I'm telling you the program is so important, and that's why you see a lot of children. We have had just about a few months ago, we got to home with someone's home where the children didn't register for school. They a whole semester gone, they didn't register.
Never been to school?
No.
Whole semester.
Mother said I didn't get around to it and all kind of things. And that was it. It was all this, and we, our people in urban renewal had to go and register, get them into school, get uniform, get all. And it's a daily thing that is happening out there.
You got to take on the responsibilities of parents.
You have to take the responsibility on, because the reality is that it's already brought to your attention. You know what's going to happen to that young girl if you don't deal with that right there. You know what's going to happen to that young boy. He's going to be recruited somewhere along the line.
And so here's what happened. They grow up, Pastor Dave, just like that.
Yeah.
Almost like wolves in the thing.
Yeah. Right.
And then they come to the public service or come to institutions like this for a job.
Oh, they want a job.
And then when you hire them, you got to figure out, well, why you don't know the basic ethics of business principles.
Spend more time training.
You got to train because they've never been taught.
No.
Yeah.
Respect. They taught you any kind of how, and you wonder why.
So we have to get young people positively engaged.
Yes.
So all of these programs are important. Just exposure to normal people makes a difference in their lives.
Yeah.
So, whether it's the baseball program, whether it's the band.
Yes.
If young people are constructively engaged, it creates a higher possibility of them succeeding. But if they are just left in the community and left around negative influences, the chances of them being successful is diminished.
But Clint, what I don't want to say, I don't want to come off the show saying we're castigating all the young people.
No.
Because there's some positive young people in those inner city communities are doing exceptionally well, are going through it. I know a girl who came up through our music program in the band, got scholarship away, still lives through one of those inner city community, is a doctor now.
Wow.
But still lives through there. Didn't succumb to the pressure.
Right.
But someone took her on.
That's it.
Someone took her on. Someone took her off the conveyor belt.
Right.
And that's what happened. So you find a lot of young people they're studying hard because we say, go home and study.
Right.
But no electricity, how you get internet?
And then we tell them you go and study, but we don't tell you how to study.
Yeah.
How do you study?
How do you study?
If that ain't been a part of your practice, what do you do? Go open a book and then what do you do?
No supervision.
No supervision.
And abuse in the home, you hear noise, cussing, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it becomes a normal, it becomes a normal trend.
Yeah, a lot of young people today have PTSD.
Yeah.
Because the things that they witness, when you have an environment where the child is unwanted, you have dysfunctional parents, you have parents who are on drugs, who are in crime, who are in prostitution, and so on. The children are going to be traumatized. And so when they enter society, they already don't have positive role models, and it's hard for them to function. They may need therapy, they may need help, and there's no intervention. And so they end up becoming, so they've been abused, and then they become the abusers and so on, so it's a cycle. But it's really gonna require every aspect, every area of society saying, what can I do? See, because we talk a lot about the problem, but you seldom hear people after a conversation say, okay, I heard what's happening, I am gonna volunteer to work with some kids from the inner city.
Yes.
I'm going to volunteer for if you want to help solve the problem, get involved.
Yes.
Go if there's a church program, if there's a boys brigade, years ago, programs like the Boys Brigades or Boy Scouts, a lot of young men were saved because they had exposure to positive role models.
Yes.
But now, hardly anyone even wants to work in these programs.
So the programs can be around.
Yeah.
But what we are doing, Clint, even I'll say from an urban youth perspective, we are looking at programs. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
We are saying, I've asked persons to identify all the boys brigades that are going on, maybe struggling. We could guarantee we can send 20 boys to that program.
There you go.
We can guarantee to the scouts, to the scouts we can send people there. To the brownies, we can send some girls there. To the girls brigade, we can send somebody there. But I want to still use this to commend, put people, like say the Defense Force, Royal Bahamas Defense Force, that Rangers program, a massive program.
I heard about
what they do with young people. I'm telling you, people have been going through that, being successful. Then you talk with the police officers who are in the community policing, who are out there with crime prevention. Then, and I want to say that to the leadership of both organizations, they're doing extremely well. Sometimes we don't see it, Clint. I've been behind in the trenches. You have to save lives. because of intervention. And at BDOCS, you know, I've seen a transformation even of the officers.
Right.
The approach that they're looking at to rehabilitation. When you talk about the parole system that's about to come on. So we have to still uplifting our people because right now what is the police doing? What is this one doing?
There's some good things happening.
Yes.
There's some good things happening.
And I think sometimes we don't celebrate the good. That is why everything seems to be so bad.
Right.
Because sometimes you turn on the talk show, this got to be the worst country in the world.
Right.
But I'll turn on the talk show in Jamaica, and I say they don't listen down there.
Right.
They don't listen to another Caribbean country.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So there are some people doing some things. That's why every day you don't hear nothing.
Clint, we are doing extremely well. I sat for 10 years on the community policing program, international community policing program. They want all say, how do you all do these things? How do you all have good relations with your residents? We can't do that. We are unique in the Bahamas.
I got to pause. Take this last break, and I'm coming back with your comment.
Yes. Okay.
We'll be back right after this.
Mailboat service is a critical service to the islands of the Bahamas. Certainly, Andrews has always been there and dear to us. That's where we're born and raised. And so we play a crucial role in advancing the growth and development of Andrews. Customers want service and they want consistency. From the start, that's been our commitment. We work to sail on time every time. Our customers have come now to expect this from us. And one of the biggest challenges we've had was finding adequate funding. SPDC from the very start has been a lifesaver. My advice to young people, if you have a vision, a passion, an idea, go for it. Don't give up. It's not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it. Be consistent and you'll get there.
We're here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this bring great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Stripe and the Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SPDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
I can't believe we have 2 minutes left, but that's how deep we got into the discussion, because we need to talk more about it. And I like going to what we're talking about going to the break, and that is, while we're talking about all of these challenges, we are making inroads.
Yes.
There's a far more success, yes. and I think as media we're responsible.
Yes.
Because we were always quick to give you the headline about a shooting or triple shooting, but where's that story about this young man who's just made a great success story, who's gotten a scholarship, who's making a difference every day? Where are those stories about young people who are doing well,
yes.
men who are standing in the gap,
yes.
men who are being great fathers and successful? We're not telling those stories enough.
Absolutely, and I think what's important is that 3 things need to happen. We need to fund successful programs.
Yes. There you go.
So
yes.
where there are results, we need
yes.
to put money behind it.
Yes. Yes.
We don't have to talk about creating new programs. There are programs that are producing individuals who are successful.
Yes. Yes.
The other thing that we need is we need training for people who want to help. I wrote a book myself, Carlos Reed and Era Fox. We wrote a book called Reaching the Streets. And basically it's sharing principles on what to do if you want to reach a certain group. And then the third thing I want to mention is that we have to highlight results.
There you go.
Yes.
If young people never see positive stories, then the only thing they have to hold on to is crime.
Yes.
There you go.
But they need to see some, you know, what amazed me, I went to the Boys Industrial School recently, or Simpson Penn Center, and it was amazing how the boys couldn't believe my story.
Wow.
And it encouraged them. I had some of my books with me, and everybody wanted a book because it was such an incredible story of a turnaround, success.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what encourages young people to do better. So we have to highlight success.
We're seeing the success stories every day, and people who are doing it. I was just in Grand Bahama this past weekend, and a young man who has had his issues in runnings with trouble. He's now mentoring young people. It's called Exquisite Bahamas with his modeling and his fashion, and raising young people who look to him and call him coach, and then looking to him, and he's making a difference right in Grand Bahama. And there are people all over this country who are doing that with young people.
And that's why I'm saying to you, Clint, we have to start highlighting, find the medium to raise these young, give them opportunities. Because there's so many good stories that I see in the daytime. There's so many people that I've seen years ago, their life have transformed. They've turned around, they call you, Mr. Dean, how can I help? How can I intervene? And so many positive things. And I think if we highlight more positive,
there you go.
It will cause some people to say, yes, I can make the turn. I can be that's a positive example, and that's what our young people want to say. And Clint, you know, I want to seize this opportunity to really want to thank our leadership of our law enforcement agencies. Commissioner Shanton Knowles and the team, they do an outstanding job. So they're doing an outstanding job. The Commodore at the Moxie at the
Defense Force.
Outstanding, I'm telling you. And then
this is hard work.
Then Mr. Claire at the prison, we underestimate them, but if they don't work, we'll be in trouble in this country.
That's right.
So all the fine officers there, they're doing an excellent job, and all the officers who are on the ground. And all the, civic organizations, whether it's Rotary, whether it's Kiwanis, a lot of people are in the communities doing things. They don't, you don't see them out in public, but Clint, they are doing outstanding work.
And I must say thank you to you, gentlemen, because we know what you're doing on the front line every day. I thank you for coming and sharing it with us.
And I must thank my over-renewal people, because I can't come for this show.
You let it go.
Outstanding. Our coaches, Allen and Diana Francis, she has lost a mother lately. A deeper sympathy. Yeah, but I must say that fine people at over-renewal, they're doing some wonderful work, and in another couple of days, another couple of weeks, you see some positive things pumping out of over-renewal.
And I got to say thank you to CJ Lowe from Exquisite Bahamas for the work he's doing down there. And of course, Shayla Ramsey, she knows exactly why I'm saying thank you to her tonight for being great. Grand Bahama. When you go around the Bahamas, you really see how great the Bahamas is. And people who are working every day, who may not make the headlines, but they're doing what they can to make our country great.
I agree.
We have to salute them. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. That does it for the rundown. Be sure to stay locked to the ZNS Network for the Bahamas tonight at 11. It's a final newscast in the country with the latest news and information. That man right over there getting ready for 11 o'clock, Royston Jones. I see you, Royston. He's ready for you at 11 o'clock tonight. For all of us here at ZNS, I'm Clint Watson. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.
At Fort Montague, I'm Opal Roach. This is ZNS.